Hi, I'm back. This video is to introduce two not commonly used functions by most of the Power BI developers. This is also the episode 4 of Stream 1. I do find that quite a lot of Power BI developers, they are using two tools for the report construction of Power BI. The first one is the database system, like SQL Server. The other one is, of course, the Power BI desktop. Why? Because for those who are not familiar with the Power BI data model and the DAX function, they may find it hard to get the data ready for the visual reporting. Now, this is also why I create this series of video. Now, for those who are having IT background, they habitually will use the database like a SQL Server to store the procedure and create a number of views to process the data in the state that Power BI user can download and then just focus on the interface. But I can tell you that this is not the right way of Power BI advocate. Power BI is built with an idea. It is for the citizen developer who may not have the IT background. Now, if you do the Power BI report in such a way that, using database system to process the data, then who is going to do this part? Of course, the IT engineer. I don't think that for those citizen developer, they can have access or knowledge of SQL. Now, if so, then why do we use Power BI? We want to unload the workload from IT engineer to the experienced user or maybe the citizen developer of Power BI. I can assure you that 99% of the data requirement derived from the ERP system can be handled in Power BI. It's not that difficult as long as you understand the DAX function, particularly related to data handling. That's why I create this series of video. I would like to share my knowledge and experience to all my audience. All right. Before we go to the Power BI report construction, let's see the definition of these three functions, the January series. Now, I recorded in episode 3.4. I have ever used the January series to create a single column data table from 1 to 13. You remember, this is for the January to December, and the 13 month is for the total. Now, the usage of January series is limited. I usually use it to generate the month table. And occasionally, I will use it to generate the date. Of course, I know the start date and end date. And this two input can be a variable or can be a measure. It's quite flexible. Now, the second function is January. It is to combine two tables to a new table with all their columns in place. And each row in table 1, which is the primary table, will expand to X rows that contains all rows of table 2. However, it can only accept 2 tables for this combination. The third one is cross-drawn and is almost the same as January, except that January can be more flexible, which I will explain later. For the time being, you can just think that January and cross-drawn are equivalent. You see that at the bottom, I add a key point highlight. Filter is a must to eliminate redundant rows on using January and cross-drawn. Now, because in the point 2, now when you do the combination of 2 tables, there may be some redundant rows in this plain combination, and it will unnecessarily need to huge data table, and it will consume the memory very much, and it may even lead to the stoppage of Power BI operation. So we need to bear in mind. All right. Then we proceed to the critical part of this video. Okay, this case is about stock trading, which is based on FIFO for profit and loss tracking. Now, first of all, we sell items purchased on or before today, and each buy-in transactions may be with different purchase price. Even transactions take place between minutes. And sales with a different selling price are divided into different transactions for ease of calculation. Each sales or purchase transactions are associated with unique transaction identity. Each sales transaction is calculated its own FIFO cost and profit as a result. The inventory balance are also calculated on FIFO basis. I am going to present you 2 scenarios. One is with a simple data set. The other is with a long and huge data set. Here is the buying transaction. I have 5 columns, the transaction ID, date, stock, quantity, and price. Then here is the selling transaction list. I also have 5 columns, transaction ID, date, stock, quantity, which is represented in negative figure, and the price. I also work out the process flow of a sales transaction profit tracking report. I reproduce the selling transaction in here and the buying transaction in here. Since the profit or loss is realized when the selling transaction is effected. All right. Okay, now this is the first transaction, 20010. It happened on June 10. The selling quantity is 300, price $11, amount 3.3 thousand. And then I trace back the earliest buy-in transaction that is available for this sales. As a result, I found that, okay, May 2nd, the first buying transaction of stock A. At that time, we purchased 746 shares at the price of $10. And this time, the sales quantity is only 300. So we take out 300 from May 2nd transaction. All right. And then we have the profit of 300 because the cost is only $10 per share. Okay. With a $1 profit per share. And then the second transaction happened on June 15. Almost the same as the previous one, except the price is only $10 per share. As a result, there is no profit or loss. The third transaction is on June 17. The selling quantity is 750. Price is 9.5. Okay, this time the buy-in transaction trace list is different. You see that on May 2nd buy-in transaction, we have 746 shares, which we consumed 600 in the previous two transactions, and we have 146 shares left for this batch. And it is not sufficient to cover the sales quantity, 750. And then the remaining 604 shares, we need to trace which buy-in transaction can cover. And this is the second one, which we purchased 646 on May 7. Okay, and the transaction ID is 1002. All right, the purchase price is $11. Obviously, we have a loss. All right, and you see that the loss is 906 for this batch, 604. Now, altogether is 750. Okay, and altogether the loss is $979. All right, this logic is clear, and we apply this logic to the other transaction. And the remaining two sales transaction of stock A and the stock transaction of stock B, we have the subtotal for each stock. And for stock A, the profit is 902. For stock B, the subtotal profit or loss, now this time is loss, is 6,500 around. Altogether, we have the grand total, 5.6 thousand loss. Okay, then we also present you the inventory of stock A and B. Now, stock A, we have ever buy how much? How many? 5,948 shares. And then how many we sell? 1.9 thousand around. So we have the inventory of 3,998 shares. For B, we have the inventory, 3,060 shares. And the amount, the inventory amount is also based on the FIFO calculation. This is the inventory breakdown. Actually, this is the buy-in quantity left over for the inventory accumulation. All right, so you see that the total inventory amount is 80,000 around. All right, now I thought it is clear what we are going to do. We need to do first this one, the profit and loss tracking per stock, per transaction, sales transaction. And then we need to present the summary of stock and its balance and value. And then the breakdown of the inventory. Okay. This is the Power BI report displayed in the browser. Now we have a two slicer, the year slicer. Here, we only have a 2024. And then the month slicer, June and July. Okay. So now you see here the stock balance summary and the breakdown and also the transaction tracking. Now this transaction tracking is regardless of year and month selected, and it is the all transaction dumping with the FIFO cost calculation. All right. Okay, then we will proceed to build the data table and also the associated DAX measure for this report. Okay, then we go to the report mode. We start from a blank report and we import the data from Excel. As I mentioned in the other video, for the sake of easy presentation, I use Excel as the main data source of all data set. Okay, actually it doesn't matter for this presentation. Okay, I click on import data from Excel and stock trade standard. I call it standard for the data set I just explained to you. Okay, there are three worksheets, but we only want the buy, sell. Okay, then we go to transform data in case we need to do some change of the data type. Trans ID is integer, date, stock is text, quantity is integer, price is 1.2. Good. Then buy, same. All right, so we accept this. Now, I would like to mention one thing. The interface we are just in is the Power Query. And I thought when you learn Power BI at your side, of course, not this series of video, a lot of trainer will tell you how powerful Power Query is. But to me, I don't like that. I just want to focus on DEX, and I find that Power Query there is too many restrictions, and I don't like that. So that's why for all the function that can be performed by Power Query, I sort out the alternative or the compatible command, sorry, in DEX. Anyway, I will also touch the Power Query in a single chapter, but which is just for a reference usage. All right. Okay, then we go to table view. Let me do some housekeeping. The price we don't sum. Price we don't sum. Tran ID, of course, we don't sum. We don't count. Okay, only quantity we will sum. And for the buy data table, we don't need to do anything. But for sell, we need to do something, mainly create some additional columns. The reason is because we are using the sell data table, I mean the sell transaction, as the basis for the profit or loss tracking. All right, and even for the inventory. Now, this is very, very critical. I don't have a, currently I don't have a data table for inventory balance holding. I'm still using the sell transaction as the basis for the profit and loss tracking, as well as the inventory tracking. Okay, I will explain to you in detail, but at the meantime, please follow me. I would not disappoint you. All right, okay. So we need to add one column, the year month. Year month, I call it YM. Now, easy. Year, sell day, times 100, plus month. All right. Now, since I'm using sales transaction as the basis for periodic reporting of profit and loss and inventory balance, think about a situation. In a month, there is many transactions. Assume that many transactions. And the last transaction of sales may not be just the last day of the month. All right. And by the same token, for example, if I purchase stock A on May, but I did not sell anything in May, then in June, I did not buy and sell. All right. So what should be the inventory balance of stock A? Now it should be the balance, I mean purchase minus sales. This is the balance. This should be the balance. Although it happened in May, it also applied to June. Okay. Now this is one point. The other point is if I check out that a particular day is the date with the last transaction of the month, that means the balance of the sales and purchase would be the inventory. I mean, this would be the month and day. For example, if the last transaction is July 27th, and the last day, of course, is July 31st. But to me, because I put everything based on the sales transaction, therefore, July 27th for stock A would be the month end date. All right, the last day of July. So I need to check it out if the date is the last day of the month, bracket, last transaction date. Okay. I find that the date, I need to reformat it to this one. And then the date in buy data table, I should do the same. Okay, then I am going to create a column that identify the last transaction ID for the particular stock and for the particular year month. All right. I use month and date. And I use the function rank X, which is subject to the filter. Now, of course, the data table itself. The filter is the stock equal to the particular stock and the year month equal to a particular year month. All right. Then I sort on the Tran ID and in descending order. If so, the ranking that is assigned 1 should be the largest transaction ID for the particular stock and the particular year month. All right. Then I return. If the temp rank equal to 1, that means we are in the last transaction ID for the particular stock and particular year month. I need to find out the month and day, the last day of the month, and assign to this column. Okay, let me see, date. And I use the current month plus 1. And the day I use 1. Afterwards, I minus 1. That means it will equal to the last day of the month. Okay, let's see. See? For the June 22nd, this is the last day of transaction for stock A on year month 2024-06. Okay, so in theory, each stock for each month, they only have one row marked with this month and day. Okay, now For those that are not the last transaction, I should put back the transaction date. How to explain? Now, I am using the sales transaction as the basis for the FIFO, for the record keeping, okay, and also for the inventory. Now, for example, June 17. Now, for this transaction, June 17, obviously, it is not the last transaction. All I have to do is to sort out all the buy-in transaction on or before June 17. Okay, and then by applying a special calculation method, I use the sales quantity to the historical buy-in transaction and then to find out what buy-in transaction ID the quantity is consumed. And since June 17 is not the last transaction of June 2024, I do not need to bother with the inventory balance. I just do the profit and loss for this particular sales quantity. However, when I look to June 22nd, now obviously this is the last transaction of 2024 June. I need to find out the historical buy-in transaction, including those buy-in transaction after June 22nd, on or before June 31st. Of course, for July 1st, I should not include those buy-in transaction in this sales transaction. Irrelevant. Because at the same time, I want to do the June month-end inventory balance. Okay, so I need to see if there exists some buy-in transaction between June 23rd and June 30. If so, those buy-in should be the inventory for June. Okay, inventory of June should be June 31st. Those stock are in the book as inventory. Okay, now you may still get confused. Even I explain so in detail. If I can present you the data and the calculation process, it will help you better understand what I mean. All right, let me complete the calculated column depth, and then we proceed to the next step. I will come back to this issue. Okay, now I create another column which is used for extracting buy-in transaction for the particular sales transaction. All right, I call it bound day. If I should use the max what day transaction and the month end date. Let's see. All right, max. That means if we have the month end date, of course it will take in the month end date. Otherwise, it will take in the transaction date. Okay, bear with me for a minute. When we go to the next step, you will have the full picture of why I need this free column. Of course, ultimately the bound day column. All right. Once we got our cell data table ready, we proceed to the critical creation of FIFO data table. Okay, I click on the new table button and I name it FIFO data. This time I use cross join with select column. Now, cell table should be the primary data table. That means the first input. Okay. All right. And cell table, we need to select all the 8 columns. All right. I do it one by one. All right, and then I link up the secondary table by table. I still need to use select column. Bye. Okay. You can expect what would be the result. Now remember, we are using the generate function in other video. Cross-join to a certain extent is very similar to generate. And then now, cell being the primary data table, then we look one by one. Okay, the row 1, for example, is June 10. All right, and then the quantity, I remember, is 300. The ID is 20010. And then it will absorb all the rows in by data table to it. That means if the by data table, we have 11 rows. So for the row 1 of cell table, the 20010 ID, we have 11 rows attached to this row of a sales transaction. All right, and then each row of sell will absorb all the rows in buy table. So you see, the total number is 242. How many rows are in buy? Is 22. How many rows in sell? 11. 11 times 22, 242. All right, but let's examine the data. We choose a stock A, and then I should reformat the date so that it looks better. Okay, I choose A. All right. And then I choose the transaction date, June 10. Now you see that the buy stock, we have B and A. Actually, B should not be attached to sell stock A. It's irrelevant. Okay, so we need to add a filter operation so that we can eliminate those non-matched stock rows. All right, so I should add a filter. Unfortunately, in cross join, it would not accept any filter inside cross join. All right, now what to equalize? Sell stock equal to buy stock. All right. When I hit enter, you see that there is no more B stock attached to sell stock A. All right. And then the total number of row is 121, no longer 242. It's excellent. However, remember, if I choose June 22nd, I should not, sorry, I should stick to June 10. I should stick to June 10 first. Now, for June 10, should I sell the stock we buy in after June 10? Definitely not. Of course, we can do short, but here we don't do that. We don't do that. Even you do the short is at the same transaction day. All right. So for June 10 sales transaction, we cannot sell the stock we buy after June 10. So you see that June 11, June 16, and June 21 are irrelevant. So our sell day should be greater or equal to the buy day. All right. So at least we would not include June 11, 16, and 21. All right. However, if we are at the last transaction, for example, June 22nd, we do need to include June 23rd or June 24th. Although we would not sell, but they are the inventory of June month end if we do have buy-in transactions on those days. All right. Of course, we would not consume those stock because at the time we are selling, we can only sell the stock on hand. Okay. But we need to include those stock buy-in after June 22nd, but on or before June 30. Of course, we would not include July 1. Irrelevant. Okay. In order to do that, I should use the bound day. Now, let's see. Let's include June 17 and June 22nd altogether. Now, you see that I saw it. If it is June 17, the bound day is June 17. If it is June 22nd, we know that this is the last sales transaction. The bound day would be June 30. So in this case, we can set up the criteria, the filtering criteria, using bound day. Now, and bound day greater or equal to buy day. If so, for sales transaction day June 17, we will not include the June 21. All right, June 21 we will not include in June 17, but in June 22nd we will include all transactions. Unfortunately, this data set we only have the buy-in transaction up to June 21st. Anyway, let me hit enter first and then prove what I am just saying is good. All right, you see that the total row is 111, no longer 121, and June 17, we no longer have June 21 transaction under June 17 sales transaction. Okay, of course, you can adjust your buy data to include a buy-in transaction of June 26. Okay, let us do that and just do the testing, and then we will revert back. All right, now here we can add a transaction 1023. Okay, and it should be the here. We just now June 7, 27. Same, it's okay, We add 1000. All right, price 15. Okay, I press save. Then I go to the here and I do the refresh. Okay, go back to the report view and I click refresh. And then we go back to the table view and see June 22nd. Do we have the June 27 transaction? Yes, here, right? But you see that June 27, although our sell day is June 22nd, we have the June 27 buy-in transaction here. Okay, now all right. Okay, the first text column I'm going to create is the last accumulated usage. So I call it last accum usage. Then the first variable, temp sold quantity, for those accumulated total of sales quantity with transaction ID less than the current sale ID. All right. Now, pay attention. I'm using the sale data table instead of the FIFO data table because you see that there is repeat sale quantity for the same transaction ID. So it is not appropriate to use the FIFO data table. All right. Stock equal to then the last buy. Now, I would suggest you to revisit the Excel formula, and then you may come to realize that this part of the last buy is the accumulated total of buy-in transaction with tran ID less than the current buy ID. Now, less than the current buy ID. And then I need to see the subtraction of these two variables. I call it last balance. It is equal to the last buy minus temp sold. Why? I will explain when I complete the switch. All right. If last balance is more than or equal to 0, what does it mean? That means the last buy is more than cover the previous sold quantity. So the current row of buy quantity will not be used. No need to use. So it is 0. If last balance less than 0, what does it mean? That means the accumulated buy-in quantity with tran ID less than the current buy ID is not sufficient to cover the temp sold quantity. So we need to use the buy quantity of the current buy-in ID to cover the temp sold quantity. However, it may or may not be enough. So I need to do a if logical comparison. Last balance plus the buy quantity. All right. If these two is still negative or equal to 0, what does it mean? That means even the current row of buy-in quantity included in the last buy, included in the last balance, is still not sufficient to cover the temp sold quantity. So if it is less than or equal to 0, then I will use the buy quantity as the consumption. The whole amount of the quantity is to be used. Otherwise, that means it's more than 0. The last balance plus the buy-in quantity is more than 0. All right, that means the buy-in quantity of current row is sufficient to cover the last balance. All right, so since the last balance is negative, I need to use the negative. All right, then it will be completed. Let me hit enter, you will see. Okay, why? Let me double check again. The temp sold quantity, it is a negative. Yeah, because remember in the sale data table, all the quantity is negative. And then this one is positive. Oh, last buy minus sold quantity. No, we should use plus. Bingo. You see that? Let's double check, huh? Now, this is the first sales transaction. Of course, there is no last accumulated usage. All right, and then we include the second one. Now, you remember, for the June 10, the sold quantity is 300. Once we include the June 17, 15. So we should have the last accumulated usage with 300. Right? Now, this is June 15. We have the 100. Now, this is the buy-in quantity, 101. Now, some confusion. This is 109, which is after 101. All right. And then if we also include the June 17, then the June 10, June 15, the sale quantity 300 and 300 will, which is equal to 600, will appear in the last accumulated usage of June 17. See here. All right. So this column is okay. Let's create the next text column. It should be the balance after the last accumulated usage. Okay. So balance after the buy quantity minus last accum. Okay. Then the next row should be the current usage. The current sale ID quantity usage on the balance after column. Okay, I will say current usage. Then the temporary temp sold, again, quantity equal to the sale quantity times minus 1. For ease of operation, I use the positive quantity. All right. Then this time, I a little bit tricky, huh? I need to sort out the buy-in quantity accumulated total with buy ID less than the current row, but it must be within the FIFO data table. Now we are now in the scope of sell stock and the tran ID and the respective sell ID. So in this case, we need to narrow our scope. So it should be the term last buy some X filter. It should be the FIFO data, the stock. They are same, huh? And the sell ID within the same sell ID. So I need to use the earlier sell ID. All right. And the buy ID is less than the current buy ID. So I need to use the earlier. Okay. Now, the column to add up is balance after. It is no longer the buy quantity. Why? Because this is not the available quantity. It should be the balance after. Because, for example, this row 746, I'm not going to use the 746 share. Rather, is after it is allocated to the previous sold quantity. So the available is 446. Okay. Then I use a temp variable to do the switch through. Now, if the temp last buy is greater than the temp sold, what does it mean? That means the sold quantity, the whole quantity can be if the last buy quantity, I mean the available balance, is more than the sold quantity, this is the previous one, that means it already cover. So the current row will not be consumed. That's why I use 0. Okay. If not negative, then I need to do a logical comparison now. The temp sold quantity minus the last buy. What does it mean? This is the remaining sold quantity not yet covered by buy-in quantity of previous. So it is to be covered by the current row. All right. So I am going to compare this net quantity with the current row balance after. Why? Now, if it is less than the balance after, that means it is to be covered by the balance after. If it is more than the balance after, that means that even the current row of balance after is not sufficient to cover. That means the whole row buy-in quantity is to be consumed. All right, so I hit enter. Okay, error. Of course, I just complete the calculation and I need to return if temp is not equal to 0. I use temp, otherwise it's nothing. Okay, bingo. 604,146 altogether 750. Then we can also see others. Now for this time, maybe we use just see the July 5. All right, July 5. Bingo. And then we better sort it in ascending order. All right. Then let's create all the other columns required by this report. The first one is the balance quantity. Okay. Then the sales value, the cost value, the profit, and the inventory value, which is based on the balance quantity. Let's do some reformatting. Unfortunately, I cannot multi-select the column to do the formatting, so I need to do it one by one. I also need to add one column as the sales month number. Okay, then it should be done for the data table structure. Okay, till now we got our data table ready for the reporting. All right, let's go to the report view, and then I insert the matrix. Now the first visual we are going to create is related to the stock trading profit and loss. Okay, the first one we are using is the FIFO data. Now we are using the sales stock as the basis. Okay, then we have A and B. For the rows header, we will have many columns. After the sales stock, we have the sales day. Now, be reminded that this is a table, so we need to click on that one, and then we change the layout to tabular. All right, you see that they are all in the same level. And style, minimal. Or default, let's use the default first. Okay, do we need to show this plus sign? Probably not. So in the row header, we change it to disable the icon. Okay, and the font, change to the one I like most. All right, and boldface. All right. After the sales day, it should be the cell ID. Let me change it to don't summarize before I add to the rows. We do not see the sales ID because we need to click on this, right? Okay. Then the sales quantity. Price, before I put it, I should reformat it to don't summarize. Quantity, then price. I should put the price before quantity. It would be better. Okay, let's see, huh? All right, now you will find that the sales price, although it is numeric in nature, but it is left aligned. Now, you need to pay attention to this default setting, which we cannot change. In Power BI matrix visual, all the row header should be text. Although it is numeric in nature, Power BI automatically change it to text, and that's why it is left aligned. All right, and then the cell quantity, it is not properly, we don't have the comma, so I add the comma. All right, price, no need. All right, this is the cell quantity, and then I need to add the by day. All right, but in case I see some field that should not be summarized, I need to change it to don't summarize. All right, by day, by ID. Okay. All right, and then we have the and then the buy cost. The buy ID should not. Yeah, buy ID, and then the buy price. Buy price. Okay, buy price. Now you see that why is it like here, like this? I don't have the answer. I don't know why. All right, then I put the current usage as the here. All right. So you see that all of a sudden, quite a lot of rows are eliminated, and instead there is a subtotal, which we don't need so many subtotal. All right, so it's not good looking. I better disable it. The buy price, I don't need the buy ID. You see that I start from the button to disable the subtotal. Okay, sell quantity, disable. Sell price, disable. And then the sell ID, disable. Now we only need the stock, the subtotal. All right, but it looks that the font is still too big. I need to change it to smaller font. Now change to color bright, and then 9. Okay. The buy day, I should disable the buy day subtotal. Buy day. Okay, much better. All right. Then you see that the first transaction, June 10th, we sell 300. And then the buy day, the buy-in day, May 2nd, the price is 10. And we consume 300 for this. Well, it is your own decision whether we should put the original buy-in total quantity. But in this case, I don't put it. If you are a user, need this, so you can add the total original buy-in quantity. All right. Then once we have the consumption, then we should also have the sales cost profit. Okay, so the next we need to change the column header name. All right. In order to save the time, I do all the formatting or cosmetics work behind the scene. So you see that at least for this visual matrix, I have done quite a lot of column or rows header values reformatting. Well, the next formatting, I would like to do it in front of you because it's quite important. All right, and it's worth spend some time in doing this. Okay, now we see that the subtotal, we may need to highlight this. So the should be the specific column, the quantity sold, the subtotal. No, should not be the value. Okay, yeah, quantity sold, sales. We need to do it one by one. Okay, and then the grand total, We don't have the grand total here, so we need to go to the section of grand total. It should be the this one. It should be the row grand total. Let's see, huh? Okay, good. Okay, much better. Okay. Then the next step is to color this row. And for those which is a positive profit, then I should put green in color, in font color. And if it is a negative, which means loss, I should put red. Besides, I have been working in finance field for more than 25 years. So I used to use bracket for negative number. Okay. So profit. Okay. Profit in here. And then the format. The format. Let's see. Huh? Sorry. I picked up the wrong column. It should be the profit. Okay. All right. Excellent. And how about the sell quantity? Yes, we can do that. All right. See? Okay. To do this, I need to create a measure table. Okay. All measure. Okay. Then I need to add a new measure. Call it profit color. A little bit tricky, huh? If sum x, oh no filter, should be the FIFO data. The profit is greater than 0, then it should be green. Otherwise, it should be red. Okay, let's go to the cell element. Then I need to find the profit, the font color, and fill value, all measure, profit color, values and totals. All right, you see that green color and then red for the negative. I need to do some housekeeping, delete the column 1. Okay. I also add 2 slicer, the year slicer and month slicer. I'm not going to walk through how to create this slicer. Rather, I would like to highlight one point. That recall that I create the cell month number, and then I create another column cell year using the cell date, and then the cell month. Now you see that I am using the technique of trailing blank ahead of the month. All right, you see that I'm using the cell date to calculate the month in short term. All right, so you see that July. Of course, because I have some filter here, so I better remove all the filters. And you see that June or July. And I have the trailing blank, which is dependent on the cell month number. I use 12 minus. All right, so if the month number is 12, I mean December, so there would not be any blank ahead of the month, and then it will be in a very late order in sorting. Okay. Now I'm not going to spend so much time on those tasks. You are already familiar. All right. So the next step is to work out the inventory balance. Depends on the month and year you choose. Well, first of all, here the month. When I do not do the selection on the month slicer, it means that June and July are both selected. Now it does not make any sense to show June and July inventory. All right. We better just show the inventory of the latest month, in this sense, July. So when you do not make any selection in the month slicer, I assume that you choose the largest month, and then I am going to search the inventory and then pick up the latest month. Of course, with the year selected. Year, no way. It must be single selection. All right, so 2024, fixed. No matter which month you choose. Of course, you can choose a 2023 specifically. All right. I hope this would not create any confusion. And then it is not so straightforward to work on the inventory balance. Why? Because this is a FIFO basis, and all the related information actually are stored based on the sales transaction. I need to emphasize. Now, if you are not so clear, please rewind this video to the beginning and then reread it. All right, and then you see that how important the sales transaction, I mean the sales ID, all right, and the date, and then we have create a column to indicate if a particular transaction date in a month is the month and day, the bound day, you remember. All right, so I'm going to create a new data table which is based on the FIFO data, but this time I only extract the rows that mark with month and day. Now for those rows which are not marked with the month and day, they must be transaction before the month end, so I don't need to care. But for those rows marked with the month and day, although it is not the last day of the month, and I would extract all the buy-in transaction even after the sell transaction, but before the end of that month, so that we can use the sell transaction to retrieve all the related buy-in quantity and also after the sales transaction date. All right. For this purpose, we go to the table view and do the table creation. It is my practice to do creation of table columns in a table view instead of the report view. Now, it is not the right way to do those action in report view, because in table view we can see the results immediately. Okay. All right. Table tools and a new table. Now look at this. Okay, I need to change. Okay, now look at this DAX command. I use the select columns function with the filter. You see that the filter is month and date not equal to blank. Month and date not equal to blank. That means all the rows I extract from the FIFO data is the month and sale transaction. Okay. And then you see that there is almost a no change of the column link. Of course, for those relevant column, I am going to show in the breakdown of inventory. Okay. Now this is a little bit different from what we know from other materials inventory report. This is stock and on FIFO. So the inventory balance is composed of different buy-in transaction. So similar to what I am presenting the profit and loss tracking of the stock trading transaction. Okay, I hope it would not create any new idea to you. All right. Then I hit enter. Now you see that, okay, there are a few columns: sales stock, sales ID, sales day transaction. Okay, I better change the format when I know that it can be better, instead of doing it later, which I will forget, and then there may be too many things to do when I'm working on a report. All right, so first thing first. All right, here the balance quantity, I need to add the format, the comma. Balance value, I don't need the decimal place. Price, I need 2 decimal place. For the buy quantity, I also extract in here, but in my coming visual matrix, I am not going to extract this. Well, in case you want to extract this, it's your own decision, and then you can add a column. All right. Okay. Then we go to the report view, and I add the matrix. Okay. Now hold on for a second. I need to explain some tricky thing about the FIFO data table. Why do I need to extract the data from FIFO data and create a new table for the inventory balance? Actually, those figures are already in the FIFO data. Think about that. This, all right, the month slicer and year slicer, where are they from? They are from the FIFO data. Now, you need to pay attention to this again and again. When you do selection in the sales month and sales year, the FIFO data will be filtered. The only data can be used in your report of the FIFO data is only the rows with month you select in the month slicer and the year you select in the year slicer. And at a glance, it seems that no issue. But since it is for inventory, think about there may be some stock transaction. The last transaction may not happen to the month you selected. Now, for example, the last transaction of A, for example, happened on May. There is no transaction on June and July. And there are buy-in transaction balance for stock A on May. All right. If you select the month June or July, say July, the row of May will be filtered out. I repeat, will be filtered out. That means when you choose July, in principle, you should have some stock balance for stock A. But since stock A are not traded on June and July, so this balance will not appear after your slicer selection. You see what I mean? So I cannot just extract the inventory balance from the FIFO data. Rather, I need to extract all the month-end data, no matter which month it is, and then put in another data table which is not affected by your slicer selection on FIFO data. Okay? I hope you understand what I mean. If you still have some confusion, please rewind to the beginning. And then actually, when I work out the month-end date, I have specified this logic. Okay, then I am going to work out the necessary DAX for the inventory report part, which would cover the scenario that we only have transaction in the previous month, and then we don't have transaction in the prevailing month, and we can still extract the inventory balance. Okay, let's put the related field from the stock balance into the new visual matrix. Okay, before that, I need to do some correction. This field is not to be sum or is not to be count. I need to specify it as don't summarize. This is a good practice. Okay. Now, first of all, the sell stock to be the first value in rows. Then sell day, sell ID, more or less similar to the stock sales tracking visual. All right. Sell and then sell price and sell quantity. Sell quantity. No, it should be the balance quantity. I'm sorry. The name should be the balance quantity, but it should not be in the row. It should be in the value. Okay, in the value. Now, remember, in order to show in this format, I need to click, 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 but it's not enough. We still need to change the layout to table. All right, and then the row header. I do not need to show the icon, plus minus icon. All right, and then minimal. It's up to you. Maybe you like the default view, something like that. Okay. And now bear with me for a second. I know that you have quite a lot of questions, but no worry. Okay, the quantity and then of course the balance value. Okay, and we change the name. Call it inventory quantity. Inventory value. All right. So there are too many rows shown in here. It's not right because it shows the June inventory and July inventory. This is not what we want. Okay, I see that there is still something I need to correct. Okay, in the format, the subtotal. Now I do not need the column total, and then the row subtotal. We need to do it from the bottom. Okay, price we don't need. The ID we don't need. Okay, we only need the date. All right, already there. Okay, and the grand total we already have it. Okay, we already have the grand total. So what I'm going to do is when June and July are selected, then we should only show the July inventory. All right, not June and July inventory. It doesn't make any sense. Okay, so I need to make use of the filter. Now, this is quite new to you, and actually in the stream 2, I'm going to give a full explanation of a filters pen. Now, this is the filter pen, but in this case, I need to introduce the filter pens in advance. All right, I'm going to create a measure so that I can allow the filter pen to filter out or filter the relevant month and filter out the irrelevant month based on the selection on the slicer. Okay, there is a number of steps I need to perform in order to eliminate the unnecessary rows of inventory quantity. The first step is to create a measure for the year month selected. Now you look at this, the first part, the year. I am using the max X to sort out the maximum year. Well, you may question why it is like that instead of using selected value, because now whenever I do the selection on the year slicer, the FIFO data table will only keep those years of record. Those are records with year equal to the selected years. So with the existing rows after the selection of the year slicer, then I sort out the maximum year. Now this is what we want. All right. And then the month, same. Month, same, because we are also select the month within the year selected, and then we sort out the maximum month. Same logic. Okay, same logic. All right. There may be some there may be some strange situation, but for the time being, we first ignore them. All right. So I hit enter. Then we have the year month selected. All right. Now based on the no selection on the slicer, that means all selected. Then the year month selected should be 2024-07. Okay. Then we can verify whether this is correct. We click, and then now bingo 2024-07. All right. Then I delete it. Now we need to check. Sorry, I need to create a measure that perform the checking. For example, on every single row of here, that is actually the balance, the stock balance. I need to check out every single row is year and month. I mean the year month. If it is matched with the YM selector, but actually it is not just match. Rather, I would like to sort out those records that are stock A, and then within stock A, the month that is less than or equal to the year month selected, less than or equal to year month selected. Now, if so, for example, for stock A, we only have the last transaction of May, and now we are using 2024-07 to sort out the biggest month equal or less than 2024-07, then it will sort out 2024-05, and this will be the inventory of July. Although the last transaction is 2024-05, because 2024-06, 2024-07, we don't have any transaction. All right. Okay, then we are going to create another measure. This measure will be used in the filter pen. We are going to create the measure that can help eliminate those unnecessary rows of inventory quantity and value. Okay, new measure. I call it check tran ID. Go to I assign the ID equal to max filter. Hold on for a second. I need to explain which. I need to use the all selected function before I can type stock balance, because I am checking or looping through the whole stock balance table. But when the Power BI visual matrix pointer look through every single row, it will assume that the current row is selected, and it will affect the stock balance data table, what records exist. Those records exist is only meeting the sell stock, sell day, and sell ID. And it is not what we want. We want the whole file. Of course, we need to tell Power BI visual matrix it is stock A. For example, we are on the first row, stock A. And then the year month should be equal to or less than the year month selected. And the table should not be filtered by the current row criteria. I mean the sell stock, sell day, and sell ID. However, if there exists external slicer, then the whole data table is still subject to those are slicer, like a year slicer here and month slicer. So I need to use the all selected. All right. And then sell stock equal to the selected sell stock. Okay. And sell YM equal to the YM selected. Not equal to, is equal or less than. All right. It cannot be greater than. Okay. And then we are going to search the max sell ID. All right. And return. If the stock balance selected value, I should use selected value. The sell ID, now it must be stock balance. We won't use any FIFO data. Oh, sorry. Luckily, we are doing the double check. It should be the stock balance. It's a must. There is nothing related to FIFO data table. Okay, equal to temp ID, then we return 1. Otherwise, nothing. That means the row is not qualified to be displayed in the visual matrix. All right, so I hit enter. And then I need to open the filter pen and select the visual matrix and add a criteria. Now, make sure you are pointing to the filters on this visual. All right, I put it here. And is 1. Apply filter. All right, you see that. Now we do not have any month selection, so I assume that it is a 2024-07. All right, and here it all appear. Only the July. All right, July 5, July 12. You remember the last transaction for stock A and stock B happened in July. All right, bingo. Okay, let's revisit this visual matrix if those columns are appropriate. Now the sell stock, and then it should be the sell YM. Okay, and then now the sell YM, we do not need the sum. Okay, and then we need to put. Do we need the sell ID? Probably not. Rather, we need the buy ID. But it should not count. All right, and the price. Okay, then we put the buy ID here, and then buy day. All right, and we also need to remove the unnecessary row subtitle. Now, again, we start from the bottom. Buy price. Let me see. We don't need. Buy day. We don't need. Buy ID. It's okay. Rather, we can add the buy sell YM. It is more appropriate. Okay, and we make it a little bit wider. Okay. We still need some cosmetics similar to this one. All right, I will do it behind scene. All right. Okay, I do some cosmetics and formatting behind the scene, and in order to save your time, I think it's not necessary to show how to do this formatting because I have done it before in front of you. And then the last visual matrix I would like to add is the summary of stock value. Now, you see that may be too lengthy. Here, we have only 2 stock. If there exists more than 10 or 20, then it's not good to just look at the breakdown of each stock item. All right, I would suggest we have a table, just show the total. Of course, you may argue that it would be good if we add the plus or minus icon inside the matrix. How to say? It depends on how you would like to do, but this time I would like to demonstrate a special technique in calculating the subtotal or grand total of a visual matrix. Whereas we do have some different situation. I will tell you later. Actually, is something related to the inventory balance. Okay. Okay. Let's try to do a shortcut for this stock summary, and we just copy this visual. All right. And then we look at this. We just need the sales stock, quantity, and value. We don't need all the others. Okay, it is nothing because we have the filter pen in effect. Let's try to delete it. But before I delete, you may wonder why this check tran ID is not in effect. Now, because we only have the stock in this row, all right, and we don't have the tran ID and whatever. No, nothing. All right. So now let me delete this. Then you see, it just add up all the rows, and then with the sales stock, with the sales stock. All right. We don't have the cell YM by ID. We don't have that. All right. So that's why in this case we cannot apply the same logic of this visual matrix to here. No, we cannot. Now this is why sometimes most of the beginner they complain that why I can work out this. It's much simple. All right. And then it will also do the total automatically. But here it is not the case, and people will get frustrated. All right. So that's why, as I emphasize again and again, that's why I introduce this series of video. All right. Okay. Then what am I going to do? I'm going to create two measure, which is calculating the inventory quantity and inventory value. Okay. Let's create a new measure. I call it sum quantity. All right. Temp stock equal to selected value. Sell stock. All right. And then the temp ID, we need to find out the cell ID. Sell stock equal to temp stock. And the cell YM less than or equal to the YM selected. Okay. And return. Sorry. I'm typing too fast sometimes. All right. Sum X filter or selected stock balance. And the cell stock equal to temp stock. And cell ID equal to temp ID. And do what? Now, here it should be the cell ID. All right. Okay. Sum QTY, I put it in the value. Right. The stock quantity of A, B are correct, but the row of total is empty. Why? Because when you revisit the DAX code, you see that I specify the sales stock so that I can do the subsequent max X and sum X. But here in the row of total, we don't have the stock specified. That means for the stock that is not blank, we have the concrete stock code. Otherwise, it must be the row of total. We don't have any stock name or code. So I need to change a little bit this formula. Okay, return if temp stock not equal to blank, then I execute the following two commands. Otherwise, a new set of commands. We need to use template table creation. All right, why? Let me type there. Because now each stock may refer to different, of course, different cell ID, and this cell ID may not be at the same month. All right, so we cannot apply a same formula. Rather, we need to do the calculation one by one, stock by stock. All right. First of all, I create the template table. First, X stock, cell stock, right? And then I need to find out each stock, the related cell ID using the above max X formula, similar, but I need to add the columns, right? What? It should be the XID. What is the XID? It is the maximum filter or selected stock balance, right? And the cell stock equal to temp stock. And what? The cell YM less than or equal to YM selected. And then we need a column of cell ID. All right. This closing bracket is corresponding to the max X, and then I need to add one more closing bracket corresponding to the add columns. But it is not sufficient here. We also need to find out the quantity of each XID. So I need an outer add columns. Right? X what? XQTY. Sum X. Selected stock balance. Sell stock equal to what? Earlier X stock. And the cell ID equal to what? Earlier XID. And what do we need? Which column? Bar QTY. All right. You may wonder why do I not putting this new column under the same X columns? Now you see that the XQTY is after we got the cell ID. So there is a dependent relationship. Once we have created the XID, then we can do the X quantity. We cannot put this newly columns which is dependent XQTY dependent to XID at the same level. We need different X columns to complete this. All right. So now this sum X, this closing bracket corresponding to the sum X, and then I need another closing bracket to the outer column of X columns. All right. And since it is a temporary table, I need to do the final sum X. Then it's easy, simple. Which one? XQTY. All right. Then I need to close the if. Okay. So let me hit enter and see if the row of total is still empty. Okay, there's something wrong. This should not be the temp stock. It should be the earlier X stock. All right. You see here. Now it is inside the temporary data table, and then it refers to the most inner table. All right. So it should be the X stock. You see that? All right. 706X. Bingo. Then the next step is to copy the whole set of formula to a new measure, some value. Okay, balance value. Okay, balance value. All right, and then I add a comma, 0, and add to here. All right, and change the column name, inventory quantity. Inventory value. Okay, let's see, X0013, X0013, 4721X, 4721X, 32795, 32795. They are all tied up. Bingo. Excellent. Now, my suggestion to you, you should pay attention to these nested X columns and understand why I need the nested X columns and how it can help us to do the calculation. Now, I believe that before this video, you may not come to know that, wow, X columns is so powerful. All right. And you can imagine if we don't know the X columns, the temporary data table, then when we come across with this kind of situation, what will you think? Ask the IT engineer to handle it in a database system. And then we just get the processed data and put it into the visual. It is not the right way of doing Power BI. We need to handle the data by ourselves as much as possible. And this is why I create this series of video. I hope you can align with me and also got to know how powerful Power BI is. I hope you will find this video helpful. If so, please click on the subscribe button and the like button. Many thanks. Happy BBI journey.